Hey fam, it's Amber Wynn, Philanthrepreneur, and in this session with Kimberly Worthy of A Worthy Cause, we are walking her through a recruitment process. Not just any recruitment process, but her board of directors. The board of directors is essential if you are ready to stop funding your nonprofit. Why? Because the IRS says that it is the fiduciary responsibility of your board to fundraise. So listen to Kimberly as she talks about her challenges and the things she didn't know and the things she discovered, but most importantly, how to create a culture of giving board of directors. Join us on the inside. What did you think the board's role was? What did before you even started your nonprofit? Like what did
So before I even started, actually, I didn't have a clear understanding of what the board role was. I know they voted on things, you know what I mean, but I didn't understand like what they was supposed to be doing and what they wasn't supposed to be doing and
okay?
who they supposed to be.
That was going to be my next question. Well, who did you think the board was supposed to be?
I did not think it's supposed to be some professionals, right? I think I was thinking the board was just like people in the community. You know what I mean? Just people, just regular, ordinary people that had an opinion about things and
Okay.
they voted for things.
Remind me again, did you have a professional do your paperwork or you did it yourself?
I did my paperwork myself.
Okay, so in the section where it asks you for your board members, who'd you
They
put?
asked me for their names and what they're gonna be doing, right? And I'm just like, well, my cousin gonna be the secretary. You know what I mean? My friend is gonna be the president because she knows how to talk around stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was winging it. I winged it.
Okay. Um, and it's one of the things that always irritates me. I mean, it's easy to get a nonprofit. Now, when you get to the 1023, the part where you get your tax exempt status is a little bit more challenging, but clearly, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to get the 501c3. I think if the IRS made it a little bit more challenging, it would be more beneficial to people. For example, you don't just hand somebody a driver's license and say, figure out the rules of the road. You don't do that. You make sure that they take a test, that they understand what the rules are, right? I feel like it
Mm-hmm.
should be the same way for starting a nonprofit because the board of directors is key to a nonprofit's success. It's not just three people you throw on the organization because the IRS has determined that the board's responsibility is to run the organization ethically. Number two is to fundraise to make sure that, all of the expenses are covered. And then three, like to be the governance. Like these people are supposed to be your partner. If you are the executive director, they're supposed to be your partner. They're supposed to be supporting you. And then lastly, most people don't know this, but the executive director reports to the board. That's important, especially if you're the founder, because the board is responsible for hiring and firing. Did you know that?
I do now. Well, after this module,
Yeah.
before, no.
So what type of people did you identify as, in your matrix that you would like to have on your board that you think would be beneficial?
When I was looking at the matrix and then I was kind of like visualizing, like, do I know, somebody that's in one of these things? So, like, I know somebody that has previous experience in a nonprofit before. I think he was like his brother was forming a nonprofit, and then he works in the political sector. So I guess that was like two of the things that was on my matrix. So I have that. And definitely um well, they have to be brown. I mean, we got to have a brown woman, you know what I'm saying? For sure, a brown teenager, somebody that's in the foster care. So these are just like things that I was identifying when I was looking at the matrix. Like we want a peer support, we want leadership, and I want it to be women, right? Women in leadership is what we're moving towards. experience in the nonprofit, and definitely we have to have some funds, right? I know that the Taco Bell manager, is just as important as everybody else, but I need people that have some money and that's not afraid to spend it,
Right.
because I need them to pay some board dues.
Right. Absolutely. And you want other people in the profession. Like maybe you want some psychologists or psychiatrists. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe you want somebody from law enforcement because they work so closely in your sector, right? They're the ones
Yeah.
who usually, end up picking up the child and, take them to, because of the lifestyle
Yeah.
they unfortunately get into.
Agree.
So that would be good. I would even consider maybe some individuals from the school district. Like, where are your population hanging out? Like, where are they? And to me, if you have people in those high level positions like Department of Social Services, if you had somebody
Mhm.
from the Department of Social Services, their foster care unit or whatever, like that's going to help you get your contracts quicker, or that's going to
Yeah.
help you get access to your population quicker. So think about, in terms of access for your organization, what type of individuals would help
Okay.
you. So that's why I was like, the school district and DPSS and
The foster care um home that's in the town.
absolutely. What corporations are in your small town in Missouri?
Walmart,
Okay.
Walmart, Procter and Gamble, Gilster, Sara Lee. They make cereal like Pops,
Mhm.
things like that. Think that's pretty much it. And the
So
college, and we have the college.
so I would hit all of those up. I would hit up VPs from Walmart, VPs from Sara Lee, VP,
Hmm.
because they are in your community, and they want
Hmm.
to be able to say, yes, we're making a lot of money from the community shopping with us, but we're also giving back. So in their annual report on their website, they're going to say Amber Wynn is the VP over, community affairs, or she's the VP, whatever department, and she sits on the board of a worthy cause support, So this
Yes.
person who's sitting on your board is going to allow them, meaning the corporation, to have, some visibility as an organization that gives back. So in your board packet, there are some templates, letters. You've got one for HR department, and it says, "Hi, my name is Kimberly Worthy." Well, it says Amber Wynn, but you would change it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
And it says, "I'm recruiting for board members. Here are the 6 things that I'm looking for." And it says, 2 years of board experience, right? And it just lays it out really short. Um, and you're going to send it to the HR department. Now, typically the HR department would either be responsible for those types of, management trainings, or they could get you to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So those letters are already written for you, and they will help you access that. Do you have a YMCA, a hospital?
Like we have a hospital. Yes, we don't have like we have like what you mean, like community centers, like type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an OSAFE center where like they go and they can play basketball and
Okay.
tennis and stuff
So
like that.
usually those types of centers will have a donor wall,
Oh, they do, they do, they do. Because
right?
in
So
my
you
previous
play.
profession,
Yep.
we were there doing an event,
Uh-huh.
and I definitely saw that.
So when you walk in there, you low key be like this, Kimberly, be like, because here's what the people on that wall already give. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, they give so much that they're on a wall.
Wow. Right. Right. Right.
And because it's a community center, there's a high likelihood that they're dealing with youth. And so those people who are giving, they support the type of organization that you would have. So you take the picture, and then, you just create a little list of people you're going to, reach out to, hit them up, you find them on LinkedIn. read their bios, see what they're doing, just to, see if it's a good fit. And then you hit them up on LinkedIn. I also have a template for the LinkedIn. Okay. You ain't got time to be figuring out all of this stuff. I got you. Right?
Tell me about it.
You want to look at associations.
Mm-hmm.
The association um, of Black social workers. The association.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. I got you.
Got a letter for that one too. And it's going to say, "Hi, my name's Kimberly, and I'm recruiting. We want to know how do I promote in your communications, or do you have a person that I can speak to?" So maybe they'll be like, "Well, we're having a conference. You can come and recruit." Like, why not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Here's the thing. People who start nonprofits and aren't really sure about the nonprofit will say, "Well, why would anybody high powered with money want to sit on my board? I'm just starting. I don't really have anything. I don't even have any documented proof," right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to sit on your board for three reasons. The first reason is because they connect with your mission, right?
Yeah.
So in 2011, when I called it my year of death, my aunt died. 2 weeks later, my mom died. 3 months later, my boyfriend died, right?
Oh, no.
And even before that, my dad died. Just cancer all in my family. And I'm just like, I am so sick of cancer. And I took my boyfriend to this one treatment center. And when I walked in the door, it said, "Hope practiced here." And it just gave me hope, right? And I
Mhm.
learned about the nonprofit that supports them. It's the Vanguard Cancer Foundation. So when my people died and I felt hopeless, I was like, I got to do something. And so I joined the board. Now, this organization was small. It only had, 4 people on the board. But I'm like, damn it, no one's going to feel like I'm going to feel like I've been feeling anymore. I'm going to make a difference. So I'm saying all that to say, if you have a sexy mission and someone is like trying to give back and trying to make a difference, that's why they would join your board, you know?
Yes, I
Yeah.
felt that. I felt all of that.
And then the second reason why that people join your board is because it makes them look good.
Right. Look what I'm doing.
Look what I'm doing in the community. People are like, they're looking at their resume and it's like, "Oh, you sit on the board of the Boys and Girls Club?" Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes.
I give back. Yes, I do. So it's good for their image. If you
Mhm.
the wealthier you are, the more service you want to demonstrate because it makes you look balanced. It doesn't make you seem like this greedy person who's all about self. So you give, you take, you give, you take. So
Mm.
that's another reason why people would want to be on your board. And then the last reason, which I hope I see more of in the coming years, is people like you want to contribute, but they don't want to start a nonprofit. So they join your board. Remember when we first started out, I'm like, well, you don't necessarily have to. So maybe someone who wants to do good in their community, but they don't want to start a nonprofit, but they want to be a part of something, they might want to join your board. Like somebody
Yes.
in your community might be like, I've been wanting to do something. I've been wanting to do something about these kids and da da da. But I just, I don't want to start a nonprofit. Great, come sit on my board,
Hmm. You
right?
can do something, right? You could be a part of something that you already wanted to do.
Exactly. So there are plenty of reasons why people will sit on the board. It's just you've got to look at what it is you have to offer them. You get to offer them the opportunity to make a difference.
Hmm.
How was your experience building out the board invitation? Not an application, the
The
board.
invitation was fun
Mhm.
and frustrating at the same time, but it was easy, right? Because I had already done the work in 3 steps previously, so it was just basically plugging into
What
the
you
right
say?
spot.
Say
That's
it
it.
again.
You know?
Say that one more time. It was
Just
easy because
applying what I already did 3 modules ago. I just plugged it in and kept moving, right? It was just put it in this spot and keep moving. That was the easiest thing about it. The hardest thing about it was where I'm gonna put this color and where I'm gonna put this line and I just gotta fit in the middle of the page. Like that was the hardest thing, if there was anything hard about
That's
it.
layout and design. You can create whatever layout and design that you want.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to call attention to the fact that in my course, I don't have you doing busy work. Everything builds on everything. Once you have that organizational profile, you are using it for everything.
Over and over again, right? You just plug it into this, plug it into that. That's the beauty of it right
That's
there.
the beauty of it.
Yes, you did that hard work for those 2 seconds, and then it just followed you throughout the rest of your goal.
So right now you've been able to use the organizational profile for your board invitation. You use the organization profile to build out your budget. You're also going to be able to use that board, get it out, Amber, organizational profile for your website. If you do,
Oh, about that too. And I was like, oh, you just can take these just kind of like that template, right? And you just plug it into the right spot. That's it. I definitely, as I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, the website will be equally as easy.
it will, because the organizational profile, the purpose of the organizational profile is to make sure that it is funder responsive. What does that mean? That means you're not just saying, oh, we are a tutoring program, or oh, we are direct service program provider for youth who, have aged out of. No, but it's to tell you what you are and then what the impact is. Everything that you do is measurable because we already put that in it. That's what makes something funder ready or funder responsive, is that they can measure your success because you let them know. So all of that was done in the organization profile. It was a bit challenging. We went back forth, a couple of times, but you have it now.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Finally.
Here's what I want you to take away from the board invitation. The content is the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
You design it, how you lay it out, that's based on your own personality, right?
Yes.
Right. If you have design skills, then sexify it, make it yours, right?
Right, right. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the content, like this goes here, that goes there, that goes there. The flow, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing is just beautiful, you know what I mean? And it's easy to work with, right? And it's easy. And I'm thinking like if someone was giving that to me, right? Like you can boom, bam, bam. You can see the purpose, you can see the mission, you can see the programs, you can see what makes this organization unique. You know what I mean? And it's all right there, and it flows.
Right. And you can see the expectations. So people are like, oh, yeah, I have a board application. A board application doesn't get you to where that board invitation gets you. A board
Mhm.
application is going to let you know about them, right? How much experience they have, where they were. But it doesn't allow you to do some pre-screening. And you want to do some pre-screening. If you put in your invitation and it's in there, that the expectation is that you show up to 2/3 of the board meetings, and they're like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. You want to know that before you invite them on the board.
Yes. Yes.
If the invitation, and it does, says the expectation is you go to 2/3 of the events, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You want to know that before they get. If the invitation, and it does, says we expect you to give $2,500 a year for board dues, you want them to say no before they get on your board.
Yes, absolutely.
So at the end of this board invitation is a simple application. Well, it's a contract, and it says, I understand that moving forward, I'm going to participate in an interview, because you always want to interview your board members. You don't want you
Mhm.
don't want to just be like, hey, you want to be on my board? They're like, yeah. You're like, bet, show up tomorrow. You don't want that,
Right,
right?
before this program, that was the idea. Hey, you wanna
Really?
be on my board? Yeah, yeah, come on, let's do it. What position you wanna play?
Wow. No, you are the
Now I
head
know
coach.
that.
Yes. And you're saying, let me see your skills. Okay. You can be the running back. You can be the tight end, right?
Right. Now I know the questions to
So
ask.
that's right. Right. So the purpose of that last page, well, second to the last page, is to say, I understand that there's a process, because you want them to feel like they have to earn it, not that they just walk onto your board. Like, no, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
also creating a culture right? So they know that they're going to get interviewed. And then after that, they're agreeing to, participate in an orientation. Yes, you put in there, here are our programs, but when you have the actual orientation, you're going to walk them through your budget. You're going to let them know your vision for this year, for at least 3 years, right? And you can
Okay.
say for at least 3 years because that budget is going to take you about that much to fundraise that. But you want them to know that going into it, right? The last page of that invitation is your calendar. And on the calendar is what? What's on that calendar?
It's our times that and our dates that our meeting's gonna be what, the third Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock.
So before they even say yes to your invitation, they know that the dates for you meeting your board meeting, they're already set. So if they look at that and then you get them and they're like, oh, I can't make no. You before we even allowed for you to come on, you knew the dates.
You
So
saw these third Thursdays of every month for the next 3 months before you sign this paper.
right. And so for me, I think that's important. Number one, because you don't have to chase down everybody. Which dates work for you? Which dates work for you? No. As the executive director, you pick the date that works for you. And
Right.
when you're recruiting your board members, can this date work for you? But for very high profile people, which is what you want on your board, they respect that because now they can look at their calendar, plug it in, block it out for the whole entire year. That's what you want. That's how you increase engagement in your board by letting them know up front, oh, these are the dates and they're set. And it makes you look professional. I like the board invitation way better than a board application because you get to do a whole lot of things. Once they say yes to the board dues and to the engagement and all that other kind of stuff, then you and another person are going to interview them and you're going to ask the questions that I already gave you. They're part of the package.
Right.
To determine if you see any signs of crazy. Because it's hard to get people off the board. You got to vote and all that kind of stuff. So I've had clients say to me, oh my gosh, Amber, I am so happy that we had those questions. Do you know what this woman said? And we dodged a bullet.
Right. Once they get on the board and then they start acting up like how I'm supposed to get them off. So
Well,
it's really important to make sure that we go through this process.
absolutely. And people interview well. You won't get all of them all the time, but sometimes you can catch them. But to answer your question, the way that you get them off is in your bylaws. There's a section that says, vacancies and, how you vote people out. There's a process for that. Either it's going to be majority vote or 2/3 vote or whatever, but it's in your bylaws. That's why it's important that you understand your bylaws is your Bible. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is about the relationship between the board, in particular the executive director, and the president and the executive director, because what always comes up is I can get fired from my nonprofit. And the answer is yes. If you as the founder decide to take the role as an executive director, your board can fire you because this is a public charity. And the IRS has given all of the power and authority to the board. Now, if you serve as the president, you're the most powerful person in the nonprofit, but you
But you're
don't
not getting
get
paid.
paid.
You're not making sure that the programs are actually being worked properly.
Right. No, you don't get paid. Board members on a nonprofit board are volunteers. Board members for a corporation can get paid. Those are two separate things. So we don't want to conflate the two. But I just really wanted to point out for people who are starting their nonprofits and they're like, well, I'm gonna put my mom and my cousin and my roommate because they won't fire me, but they also won't be able to fundraise. So you're giving up something for something, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I created the board recruitment toolkit is because this is the closest that you're going to be able to control who's on your board. If you vet them, if you let them know what the expectations are, if you have a culture whereby you're training them, if you let them know you're supposed to fundraise this amount, if they come in with that knowledge, then they come in ready to support you. You've created that structure, right? As opposed to just come on in here. No, you vetted them, you let them know what your expectations are. So the likelihood of them firing you goes down because you've created an infrastructure, right? They have
Right.
an expectation, you have an expectation. Now, having been a board member, I will just share this. It's a lot of work. You got to read the financials, you got to check out the programs, you got to make sure things aren't happening. And I'm volunteering. So, do I want to fire my executive director? I do not, because that means we're going to have to step in and do the work. However, I recognize that it is my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the organization is being ran ethically. So, if my executive director is doing some stuff that's shisty, it is my responsibility to fire them. So, to the founder who says, how do I keep my board from firing me?
Work ethically. Is it.
Don't make shit up.
Exactly.
Call them MSUs, making shit up, right? So I'm saying to you, if you learn about how to run a nonprofit and you do it the right way, your board is going to support you, even if you make mistakes, because nobody's perfect, right? But if you are trying to learn and understand what running a nonprofit is, everybody makes mistakes. But if you're just coming in and you just like, well, we're going to do this and I'm going to write myself a check for that, that's unethical.
Yes.
And if
and
you're
that's what we're here for.
right, and if you're not trying to learn more, if you're not trying to do better, then it is the board's responsibility to fire you. So if you don't want your board to fire you, you need to always keep yourself educated. You need to learn as much as you can about the nonprofit sector, and you need to work hard to run the organization the right way. That's how you keep the board from firing. Yeah, there is no founder's clause. It doesn't exist. A founder's clause is when people say, oh, well, I heard in the bylaws, you can put a clause that says, that the founder can never be fired. I'm like, no, because the IRS says no person, no persons can personally benefit. If you can never be fired, then you benefit from that.
Exactly.
So the founder's clause is a myth. A founder's clause exists in a partnership for for-profit companies. It doesn't exist in the nonprofit company.
So if I'm interviewing, say I sent out 10 applications, right? It's not saying that I need a certain number of people to sit on my board. I can have all 10, I can have 5, I can have 6, just however many I feel was qualified for
always
the
want to
position.
have an odd number because you want to be able to break the vote, right? But the number of board members is up to you. There's 2 schools of thought, right? If you have a smaller board, you can control them. That's not necessarily true. People have their own personalities. And if you have a process whereby we do board training once a year, or we do orientations every month, you create that culture, right? So it just really just depends on you and what your goals are. But at the end of the day, I would say to anybody, a safe number to start with is 7, 9, or 11.
Okay, good. That's my next question. What would you recommend a good number to start with? 7, 9, or 11? Those are all great numbers. 11 was definitely in my mind.
And the reason why we get to 11 is because when you look at 10% of your budget, we said your budget was almost 500,000, like up there.
Yeah, like 400 something thousand.
So the way we get to the board dues is we take 10% of your budget. So that's 40,000. Now, if you divide 40,000 by 3 people, because legally that's really all you have to have: a president, a treasurer, and executive director. If we take that 40,000 and we divide it between those 3 people, that's a huge chunk to carry. But if you take that same 40,000 and you divide it between 10 people, then that's 4,000 that they each have to pay over the year. So the more people that you have, the less that they have to pay for their dues. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Is there such thing as too big of a board?
I think so.
What that number look like?
Here's the other thing. As you grow, you want to have committees. If you only have three people, how many committees can you have? Everybody's going to be on a committee. If you
Exactly.
right, if you have 11 or 15, like then you can say, okay, we have three committees. We've got the finance committee, which also, and we've got the fundraising committee, and then we've got the, marketing committee. So if you've got 15 people, you can have 5 people on each committee so that people aren't getting burnt out. You see?
Right. It makes
Now,
sense.
when you start having 25 board members and 50 board members, it becomes challenging to manage all of those people. Like, and it's just the nature of people. If something's wrong and you got this little coalition of people and then grumbling and, so you want to be able, as an executive director, another thing that is important for you is that you manage relationships. You shouldn't just be meeting with your board at the board meetings. You should be having lunch. You should, just to make sure that you're watching what's going on in that board, right? You
Right.
want to have allies. So when you say, hey guys, we need to add on to our building, somebody's going to be like, no, we don't. Like, she's fine. But you're the one doing the programming, right? So
Right.
you have a relationship with 3 of the 5 board members. You want to talk to them before that vote even happens. You want to go to that vote knowing it's going to happen because you had lunch with that one last week and you had dinner with that one the other week. The other one came through. So when they go in for the vote, as the executive director, you already know what's going to happen. It shouldn't be left up to chance because you're managing those relationships. If you have 25 people on your board, when are you going to run your program? You're going to be so busy, right? So managing those relationships. If you have 3, 5, or 7 board members, you could always make your board members the chair, the committee chair, and then have volunteers on that committee.
Yeah.
They
That's definitely a thought.
Yeah, they won't be paying dues because that's not their responsibility. But you can say, oh, no, we have a small board, but we have volunteers who are going to help you because you're taking the lead on X, Y, and Z, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, helping extra hands when we're doing fundraising or anything, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's a thought that I'm keeping in my mind.
Yeah. So people are like, well, we need to have 25 people. We've got committees. Whoa. Get some of your volunteers to sit on the committee and then keep them engaged, right?
Yes.
So in the next session, we're going to talk about your fund development strategy.
Talk about money again.
That's right. So you got the infrastructure built out. We know your mission, we know your programs, we know the impact, right? We got your budget, so we know how much it costs to run your organization. We have the entity responsible for fundraising. Now we're going to jump into how to diversify your funding streams, how to actually get that $400,000 into your organization. There is a strategy for it. It is called the fund development plan. Now, people say, oh, fundraising and grant writing. No, you want fund development. Fundraising, events and stuff that comes in there. Grant writing, it's a part of it. The fund development strategy includes multiple streams because every nonprofit should have 10 streams of revenue. And we're going to build that out in the next session with your fund development plan. You ready?
I am ready. How did I not guess that we're going to give the board the tool that they need to get what we need? No.
We're not leaving it up to chance at all. We're going to make it easy, right?
Yep, that's the going right here.
Listen, that's how we do what we do over here.